Welcome to Policy RX with the Rock Doc. I'm Eric Murdoch, coming to you from the doctor's office in Estes Park, Colorado. We are speaking with Sierra Blair today. Sierra is a professional climber who is a fixture on the competition circuit in both the North American Series as well as the World Cup Series, where she's had some pretty good results. Recently, she's been crushing double-digit boulder problems out all over Arizona. And today we're going to be talking a lot about Oak Flat and her experiences there, which are documented in a recent film called Pretty Strong. Thanks so much for being with us again, Sierra.
Hey, Eric, thanks so much for having me.
So let's give a little primer to the listeners so they know sort of how we got to where we are with regard to Oak Flat. I want to talk a little bit about your experiences after we sort of set the stage. So for all the listeners, about 20 years ago, there were a bunch of proposals from Arizona legislators to hand over Oak Flat, an area in just east of Phoenix, Arizona, to a foreign mining company, Resolution Copper, which is a subsidiary of Rio Tinto and BHP, to create a copper mine. A bunch of different bills were attempted to be passed for 10 years. And finally, provision was jammed into a must-pass bill, the National Defense Authorization Act in 2015. Since then, Access Fund and many conservation groups, as well as the San Carlos Apache tribe, have been pushing back against the land exchange with Resolution Copper so that a 1 mile deep by 2 mile wide crater would not basically collapse the entire area as a result of block cave mining. The area, of course, includes incredible climbing and bouldering. So the first question of Sierra is, why is this place so important to you? And what does Oak Flat mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, Oak Flat's an amazing area. It's basically my local haunt. It takes me about an hour to get there from my house. It's the second place I ever climbed outside. It's where I learned to lead climb, and it's where I've done the majority of my outdoor climbing when I really started to focus on climbing outside about 3 years ago. And I'm just one user of one user group for Oak Flat, right? But it's just an incredible area. I can, mainly speak for the climbing because that's what I'm there for. But it's awesome. There's something for everyone. And yeah, it would just be devastating to lose it.
Yeah, and last week was an especial tenuous week because, as you know, on August 18th, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals granted an injunction to block the transfer because the next day, on Tuesday, August 19th, the title was actually supposed to be handed over to Resolution Copper. And it just kind of reminds me of how tenuous access is. It's like we sort of take our climbing for granted until it's lost. Can you sort of describe like how important the climbing is at Oak Flat? What's the climbing like? Give a picture of sort of like what you experience when you go out climbing at Oak Flat. The video in Pretty Strong is really incredible.
Yeah, thanks. I'm psyched with how much that video showcased Oak Flat, and that is just such a small percentage of the boulders too. There's just so much going on out there. The climbing is generally, it's going to be a little on the sharp side. Sorry, everyone, but a lot of slightly overhanging boulders, lots of crimps, lots of pockets, but there really is kind of like a wide range of grades. There's a wide range of angles too. I'm just kind of giving you like what the bulk of it is. But yeah, there's just so much to get on out there. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface, and I've probably been the person who's put the most time in out there in the past, 3 years since I started going out. Yeah, and there's just a lot to do in a really great way. It seems endless.
So I too learned how to climb out there. Actually, interestingly, and really, I spent a lot of time out there in the mid '90s when I was figuring out how to move around on rock. If I go back, is there easy bouldering for me to do? You're out there crushing double digits, but what's available to me?
Yeah, I mean, no idea how hard you climb, but it's basically. I used to say, oh, it's like 0 to now we have a V13. There's definitely even easier than V0. I've got a little nephew now who climbs, so I like think about stuff for him. We've got some walk up VB type things if you're just really, getting out there for the first time. Yeah, just so many grades of really just everything out there. So lots of stuff for everyone to get on.
Yeah, I remember it was such a special spot, and the sport climbing I thought was exceptional back in the day. And remember that that was the place where the Phoenix Bouldering Contest was held for many years, the largest outdoor bouldering contest in the world. I think you might have just missed that, right?
I did. So I started climbing in late 2002. So they had the PBC in 2003, and then 2004 was the last year. So I never got to attend one. I wish I did, but I would have been 10 in 2004. So I think my 10-year-old experience have been very different than the adult experience out there.
Yeah, I remember one year I volunteered and I was spotting and working out there. That's when I met, I think Chris Sharma, when I saw him out there, was maybe 13 or 14 years old, crushing boulders. And I think you just repeated one of the routes that he put up a long time ago, right? Can you kind of describe that experience?
Yeah, so I did Captain Hook last year in 2024, and basically I had just done one of the other hard boulders I was working on out there that one of my friends had FA'd. I was looking for something else hard. I remember walking by Captain Hook as a kid and being like, "Oh my god, this thing looks so hard." But I remember that the start hold is really good because the start hold on Captain Hook is it's basically like a flat jug pocket that you match in. And I had been able to find old beta video of Chris on it, which was really cool. It was like pulled from a comp video. And so I kind of had an idea how to do it. But at some point between Chris FAing it in the competition and when I started to get on it, a hold had broken in the middle and it changed how the boulder climbed a little bit. So I got the first descent post break. But yeah, it was really cool. It was a really hard boulder too. I went back to it to shoot footage for Pretty Strong on it. And I was like, I sent this thing? Like, this thing is so hard.
Nice work. So before we did this in this interview, I viewed the Pretty Strong short film with my 14-year-old daughter, and she was so pumped up that I was able to talk to you. How do you see yourself as a role model? Yeah, where do you see yourself in sort of the general climbing scheme and your role and how to promote climbing with youth, or do you sort of just do what you do and let the chips fall?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. But I would say, if I'm a role model to anyone, that's super awesome and I'm happy about it. I mainly just, focus on being myself and then trying to be just a good person in life. And I think those two things together tend to, work out positively. So whatever I can do to just bring psych to anyone in climbing, who is a climber or anyone who's thinking about getting into climbing, that's kind of all I'm psyched on at the end of the day, as long as I can help people within the sport and outside of the sport, I'm feeling pretty happy.
Well, seeing you crushing out at Oak Flat made me want to get out climbing, so you definitely inspired me a little bit. What are your plans for the near future? You got any projects or anything going on?
Yeah, I mean, summer is kind of coming to a close here. Temps are starting to get better for the outdoors. So, been training all summer, plan is to switch to outdoors soon, which I'm psyched about. But it's hard because at the end of the season, you go from being in like peak outdoor shape to having to like break yourself back into outdoor shape. And it's always a tough hurdle to get over. But I'm pumped to get back out there and start working some hard boulders.
Well, it was great chatting with you. Thanks so much for sort of giving us a picture of what it's like to climb hard things in Oak Flat and how important Oak Flat really is. We really appreciate you joining us on Policy RX.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care, Sierra.
Thanks. Bye.